Begin by simply listening. Slow down and see just how peaceful today can be. Thank you so much for being here. You can call me Sebastian Smalls, also known as Bennett Herbison, as it says on the screen there. Sebastian Saint Serapion, the Scholastic Smalls, Sidewinder Smalls, uh, Shut Up Smalls. Right. Um, Live. All right, so begin by simply listening, slow down, and see just how peaceful today can be. Thank you so much for being here. You can call me Sebastian Smalls or Oscar Bellows or Bennett or Batu 501. If this goes right, what this is going to be is Anne of Green Gables, Anne's Confession, and Secret of Mana 2. Again, thank you so much for being here. Wish us luck. Catch you guys on the flip side.
Chapter 14 of Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery.
Once, when the world was yet trapped in darkness, the goddess of mana felled 8 incarnations of disaster that guided the world to destruction. The god beasts with the sword of mana, and sealed them in the 8 stones. And as the darkness left, the world was created. The goddess of mana turned herself into a tree and fell asleep. Many years passed. Due to the actions of some who plot to unleash the god beasts from the stones, obtain power surpassing even that of the gods, and make the world their own, conflict breaks out, heralding the end of peace.
You had no business to do anything of the sort. It's very wrong in a little girl to meddle. You shouldn't have gone into my room in the first place, and you shouldn't have touched a brooch that didn't belong to you in the second. Where did you put it?
Oh, I put it back on the bureau. I hadn't it on a minute. Truly, I didn't mean to meddle, Marilla. I didn't think about it.
Mana is rapidly disappearing from the earth. Even the mana tree has begun to wither.
I never do the same, not even twice,
You didn't put it back.
said Marilla.
That brooch isn't anywhere on the bureau. You've taken it out or something, Anne.
I did put it back, said Anne quickly. Pertly, Marilla thought. I don't just remember whether I stuck it on the pincushion or laid it in the china tray, but I'm perfectly certain I put it back,
I'll go and have another look.
said Marilla, determining to be just.
If you put that brooch back, it's there still. If it isn't, I'll know you didn't, that's all.
Marilla went to her room and made a thorough search, not only over the bureau, but in every other place she thought the brooch might possibly be. It was not to be found, and she returned to the kitchen.
Anne, the brooch is gone. By your own admission, you were the last person to handle it. Now, what have you done with it? Tell me the truth at once. Did you take it out and lose it?
No, I didn't, said Anne solemnly, meeting Marilla's angry gaze squarely. I never took the brooch out of your room, and that is the truth if I was to be led to the block for it, although I'm not very certain what a block is. So there, Marilla. Anne's so there was only intended to emphasize her assertion, but Marilla took it as a display of defiance.
I believe you are telling me a falsehood, Anne,
She said sharply.
I know you are. There now, don't say anything more unless you are prepared to tell the whole truth. Go to your room and stay there until you are ready to confess.
Will I take the peas with me? Said Anne meekly.
No, I'll finish shelling them myself. Do as I bid you.
When Anne had gone, Marilla went about her evening tasks in a very disturbed state of mind. She was worried about her valuable brooch. What if Anne had lost it? And how wicked of the child to deny having taken it when anybody could see she must have, with such an innocent face, too.
I don't know what I wouldn't sooner have had happen,
thought Marilla as she nervously shelled the peas.
Of course, I don't suppose she meant to steal it or anything like that. She's just taken it to play with or help along that imagination of hers. She must have taken it, that's clear, for there hasn't been a soul in that room since she was in it by her own story until I went up tonight. And the brooch is gone, there's nothing sure. I suppose she has lost it and is afraid to own up for fear she'll be punished. It's a dreadful thing to think she tells falsehoods. It's a far worse thing than her fit of temper. It's a fearful responsibility to have a child in your house you can't trust. Slyness and untruthfulness, that's what she has displayed. I declare I feel worse about that than about the brooch. If she'd only have told the truth about it, I wouldn't mind so much.
Marilla went to her room in intervals all through the evening and searched for the brooch without finding it. A bedtime visit to the east gable produced no result. Anne persisted in denying that she knew anything about the brooch, but Marilla was only the more firmly convinced that she did. She told Matthew the story the next morning. Matthew was confounded and puzzled. He could not so quickly lose faith in Anne, but he had to admit that circumstances were against her.
You're sure it hasn't fell down behind the bureau?
Was the only suggestion he could offer.
I've moved the bureau, and I've taken out the drawers, and I've looked in every crack and cranny,
was Marilla's positive answer.
The brooch is gone, and that child has taken it and lied about it. That's the plain, ugly truth, Matthew Cuthbert, and we might as well look it in the face.
Well, what are you going to do about it?
Matthew asked forlornly, feeling secretly thankful that Marilla and not he had to deal with the situation. He felt no desire to put his oar in this time.
She'll stay in her room until she confesses,
said Marilla grimly, remembering the success of this method in the former case.
Then we'll see. Perhaps we'll be able to find the brooch if she'll only tell where she took it. But in any case, she'll have to be severely punished, Matthew.
Well, now you'll have to punish her,
said Matthew, reaching for his hat.
I've nothing to do with it, remember? You warned me off yourself.
Marilla felt deserted by everyone. She could not even go to Mrs. Lynde for advice. She went up to the east gable with a very serious face, and left it with a face more serious still. Anne steadfastly refused to confess. She persisted in asserting that she had not taken the brooch. The child had evidently been crying, and Marilla felt which she sternly repressed. By night she was, as she expressed it, beat out.
You'll stay in this room until you confess, Anne. You can make up your mind to that,
she said firmly. But the picnic is tomorrow, Marilla, cried Anne.
Please, no.
You won't keep me from going to that, will you? You'll just let me out for the afternoon, won't you? Then I'll stay here as long as you like afterwards, cheerfully. But I must go to the picnic.
You'll not go to picnics or anywhere else until you've confessed, Anne.
Oh, Marilla, gasped Anne. But Marilla had gone out and shut the door. Wednesday morning dawned as bright and fair as if expressly made to order for the picnic. Birds sang around Green Gables. The Madonna lilies in the garden sent out whiffs of perfume that entered in on viewless winds at every door and window, and wandered through halls and rooms like spirits of benediction. The birches in the hollow waved joyful hands, as if watching for Anne's usual morning greeting from the east gable. But Anne was not at her window. When Marilla took her breakfast up to her, she found the child sitting primly on her bed, pale and resolute, with tight-shut lips and gleaming eyes. Marilla, I'm ready to confess. Marilla laid down her tray. Once again her method had succeeded, but her success was very bitter to her.
Let me hear what you have to say, then, Anne.
I took the amethyst brooch, said Anne, as if repeating a lesson she had learned. I took it just as you said. I didn't mean to take it when I went in, but it did look so beautiful, Marilla, when I pinned it on my breast, that I was overcome by an irresistible temptation. I imagined how perfectly thrilling it would be to take it to Idlewild and play I was the Lady Cordelia Fitzgerald. It would be so much easier to imagine I was the Lady Cordelia lake of shining waters. And that's the best I could do at confessing, Marilla. Marilla felt hot anger surge up into her heart again. This child had taken and lost her treasured amethyst brooch, and now sat there calmly reciting the details thereof, without the least apparent compunction or repentance.
Anne, this is terrible,
She said, trying to speak calmly.
You are the very
Long
wickedest
ago,
girl
the War
I've
of the
ever
Magi
heard of.
reduced the world
Yes,
to a
I
scorched
suppose I am,
wasteland.
agreed Anne tranquilly. And I know I'll have to be punished.
1,000 years
It'll
have
be your duty to
passed.
punish me,
Iron,
Marilla.
gunpowder,
Won't
and
you
steam
please get it
engines
over
have
right
been
off? 'Cause
rediscovered,
I'd like to go to the
and
picnic
high
with nothing on
technology
my mind.
reigns.
Picnic indeed. You'll go to no picnic today, Anne Shirley. That shall be your punishment. And it isn't half severe enough either for what you've done.
Not go to the picnic. Anne sprang to her feet and clutched Marilla's hand. But you promised me I might. Oh, Marilla, I must go to the picnic. That was why I confessed. Punish me any way you like but that. Oh, Marilla, please, please let me go to the picnic. Think of the ice cream. For anything you know, I may never have a chance to taste ice cream again. Marilla disengaged Anne's clinging hands stonily.
You needn't plead, Anne. You are not going to the picnic, and that's final. No, not a word.
Anne realized that Marilla was not to be moved. She clasped her hands together, gave a piercing shriek, and then flung herself face downward on the bed, crying and writhing in an utter abandonment of disappointment and despair.
For the land's sake!
Gasped Marilla, hastening from the room.
I believe the child is crazy. No child in her senses would behave as she does. If she isn't, she's utterly bad. Oh, dear, I'm afraid Rachel was right from the first. But I put my hand to the plow and I won't look back.
That was a dismal morning. Marilla worked fiercely and scrubbed the porch floor and the dairy shelves when she could find nothing else to do. Neither the shelves nor the porch needed it, but Marilla did. Then she went out and raked the yard. When dinner was ready, she went to the stairs and called Anne. A tear-stained face appeared. Come down to dinner, Anne. I don't want any dinner, Marilla, said Anne softly. I couldn't eat anything. My heart is broken. You'll feel remorse and conscience someday, I expect, for breaking me, Marilla, but I forgive you. Remember when the time comes that I forgive you. But please don't ask me to eat anything, especially boiled pork and greens. Boiled pork and greens are so unromantic, but one is an affliction. Exasperated, Marilla returned to the kitchen and poured out her tale of woe to Matthew, who, between his sense of justice and his unlawful sympathy with Anne, was a miserable man.
Well, now she shouldn't have taken the brooch, Marilla, or told stories about it.
He admitted, mournfully surveying his plateful of unromantic pork and greens as if he, like Anne, thought it a food unsuited to crises of feeling.
But she's such a little thing, such an interesting little thing. Don't you think it's pretty rough not to let her go to the picnic when she's so set on it?
Matthew Cuthbert, I'm amazed at you. I think I let her off entirely too easy. And she doesn't appear to realize how wicked she's been at all. That's what worries me most. If she really felt sorry, it wouldn't be so bad. And you don't seem to realize it neither. You're making excuses for her all the time to yourself. I can see that.
Well, now she's such a little thing.
Feebly reiterated Matthew.
And there should be allowances made for Marilla. You know she's never had any bringing up.
Well, she's having it now.
Retorted Marilla. The retort silenced Matthew if it did not convince him. That dinner was a very dismal meal. The only cheerful thing about it was Jerry Biot, the hired boy, and Marilla resented his cheerfulness as a personal insult. When her dishes were washed and her bread sponge set and her hens fed, Marilla remembered that she had noticed a small rent in her best black lace shawl when she had taken it off on Monday afternoon on returning from the Ladies' Aid. She would go and mend it. The shawl was in a box in her trunk. As Marilla lifted it out, the sunlight, falling through the vines that clustered thickly about the window, struck upon something caught in the shawl, something that glimmered and sparkled in facets of violet light. Marilla snatched at it with a gasp. It was the amethyst brooch, hanging to a thread of the lace by its catch.
Dear life and heart,
Said Marilla blankly.
what does this mean? Here's my brooch safe and sound, that I thought was at the bottom of Barry's pond. Whatever did that girl mean by saying she took it and lost it? I declare, I believe Green Gables is bewitched. I remember now that when I took off my shawl Monday afternoon, I laid it on the bureau for a minute. I suppose the brooch got caught in it somehow. Well,
Marilla betook herself to the east gable, brooch in hand. Anne had cried herself out and was sitting dejectedly by the window.
Anne Shirley,
Said Marilla solemnly.
I've just found my brooch hanging to my black lace shawl. Now I want to know what that rigmarole you told me this morning meant.
Why, you said you'd keep me here until I confessed, returned Anne wearily. And so I decided to confess because I was bound to get to the picnic. I thought out a confession last night after I went to bed and made it as interesting as I could. And I said it over and over so that I wouldn't forget it. But you wouldn't let me go to the picnic after all, so all my trouble was wasted. Marilla had to laugh in spite of herself, but her conscience pressed her.
Anne, you do beat all. But I was wrong, I see that now. I shouldn't have doubted your word when I'd never known you to tell a story. Of course, it wasn't right for you to confess to a thing you hadn't done. It was very wrong to do so. But I drove you to it. So if you'll forgive me, Anne, I'll forgive you, and we'll start square again. And now get yourself ready for the picnic.
Anne flew up like a rocket. Oh, Marilla, isn't it too late?
No, it's only 2 o'clock. They won't be more than well gathered yet, and it'll be an hour before they have tea. Wash your face and comb your hair and put on your gingham. I'll fill a basket for you. There's plenty of stuff baked in the house, and I'll get Jerry to hitch up the sorrel and drive you down to the picnic ground.
Oh, Marilla, exclaimed Anne, flying to the washstand. 5 minutes ago I was so miserable I was wishing I'd never been born, and now I wouldn't change places with an angel. That night, a thoroughly happy, completely tired out Anne returned to Green Gables in a state of beatification impossible to describe. Oh, Marilla, I've had a perfectly scrumptious time. Scrumptious is a new word I learned today. I heard Mary Alice Bell use it. Isn't it very expressive? Everything was lovely. We had a splendid tea, and then Mr. Harmon Andrews took us all for a row on the Lake of Shining Waters, 6 of us at a time, and Jane Andrews nearly fell overboard. She was leaning out to pick water lilies, and if Mr. Andrews hadn't caught her by her sash just in the nick of time, she'd fallen in and
all the time. We're just playing hide and seek.
It would be such a thrilling tale. Ice cream. Words fail me to describe that ice cream. Marilla, I assure you it was sublime. That evening, Marilla told the whole story to Matthew over her stocking basket.
I'm willing to own up that I made a mistake,
She concluded candidly.
but I've learned a lesson. I have to laugh when I think of Anne's confession, although I suppose I shouldn't, for it really was a falsehood. But it doesn't seem as bad as the other would have been somehow. And anyway, I'm responsible for it. That child is hard to understand in some respects, but I believe she'll turn out all right yet. And there's one thing certain. No house will ever be dull that she's in.
End of chapter 14.
What happened? Dang. I wanted to do... Kara Schallenberg, LibriVox, Dracula, Chapter 13.
Chapter 13 of Dracula. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please Dracula by Bram Stoker. Chapter 13. Read by
Dennis Sayers,
Elizabeth Klatt.
David Lawrence. Dr. Seward's diary continued. The funeral was arranged for the next succeeding day, so that Lucy and her mother might be buried together. I attended to all the ghastly formalities, and the urbane undertaker proved that his staff was afflicted, or blessed, with something of his own obsequious suavity. Even the woman who performed the last offices for the dead remarked to me in a confidential, brother professional way, when she had come out from the death chamber, "She makes a very beautiful corpse, sir. It's quite a privilege to attend on her. It's not too much to say that she will do credit to our establishment." I noticed that Van Helsing never kept far away. This was possible from the disordered state of things in the household. There were no relatives at hand, and as Arthur had to be back the next day to attend at his father's funeral, we were unable to notify anyone who should have been bidden. Under the circumstances, Van Helsing and I took it upon ourselves to examine papers, etc. He insisted upon looking over Lucy's papers himself. I asked him why, for I feared that he, being a foreigner, might not be quite aware of English legal requirements, and so might, in ignorance, make some unnecessary trouble. He answered me, I know, you forget that I am a lawyer as well as a doctor, but this is not altogether for the law. You knew that when you avoided the coroner. I have more than him to avoid. There may be papers more, such as this." As he spoke, he took from his pocketbook the memorandum which had been at Lucy's breast, and which she had torn in her sleep. "When you find anything of the solicitor who is for the late Mrs. Westenra, seal all her papers and write him tonight. For me, I watch here in the room and in Miss Lucy's old room all night, and I myself search for what may be. It is not well that her very thoughts go into the hands of strangers." I went on with my part of the work, and in another half hour had found the name and address of Mrs. Westenra's solicitor, and had written to him. All the poor lady's papers were in order. Explicit directions regarding the place of burial were given. I had hardly sealed the letter when, to my surprise, Van Helsing walked into the room saying, "Can I help you, friend John? I am free, and, if I may, my service is to you." "Have you got what you looked for?" I asked, to which he replied, "I did not look for any specific thing. I only hoped to find, and find I have, all that there was, some letters and a few memoranda, and a diary new begun. But I have them here, and we shall for the present say nothing of them. I shall see that poor lad tomorrow evening, and with his sanction I shall use some." When we had finished the work in hand, he said to me, "And now, friend John, I think we may to bed. We want some sleep, both you and I, and rest to recuperate. Tomorrow we shall have much to do, but for thee tonight there is no need."
Mercury Theatre on the Air, Orson Welles' Christmas Carol, YouTube.
Of us.
to hear and to enjoy A Christmas Carol. And since it is Christmas Eve, we hope too that the younger members of the family are permitted to stay up and listen before dreams and visit us end. We are great deal of pleasure planning and preparing this Christmas gift. And now it's ready. Off come the wrappings, off come the tags to say, please do not open till Christmas. Out comes the card. To you, from Campbell. And here is the gift itself.
Why does he hate me?
Molly was dead to begin with. There's no doubt whatever about that. The register of this burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it. And Scrooge's name was good upon change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Molly was as dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead? Of course he did. Scrooge and Molly were partners for I don't know how many years. But he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone was Scrooge. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. And once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house, a grim, cheerless place if ever there was one. The door of Scrooge's counting house was open that he might keep his eye upon his clock while Cratchit, the cold and dismal little bell beyond, worked at his leisure.
What are we going to do? So, where did it all go? Begin by simply listening. Slow down. See just how peaceful today can be. Thanks so much for being here. If you're hearing this now, this worked. My honor to be here with you. This was a fun one. Catch you guys on the flip side. No. What? Don't do that. Oh, weird. "1948, Blood, Edward Island." Father? Wait. No. Oh. 1994, suburbs of Seattle. Go hide, Ashley. No! ghost memory. It's the day before my 14th birthday. I'm feeling antsy. It's morning now. The sun is bright. And I'm on a boat heading toward Blood Edward Island. The sea is very calm, but my heart is a storm of emotions. I'm shocked, happy, upset, confused, nervous, and excited. My heart's in a blender. My stomach, it's in spin cycle. That's how antsy I'm feeling. I've never felt quite like this before. I just found out that my father is alive. Starting recognition process. Please touch the center of the ring with your index finger. Index finger. Got it. Thank you. Reading. Reading complete. Username, Ashley Mizuki Robbins, also known as Jessica. Birth date, 7/6/1991. Ashley Mizuki. Part Japanese, perhaps, like this game. Dear Ashley, I'll be waiting for you here on Blood Edward Island. I want to spend your 14th birthday with you. Your father, Richard, also known as Papa Gomez.
Papa Gomez. Yes.
Dual chase system start.
Papa Gomez. I gotta come back for that. That's right, it was Papa Gomez.
Papa Gomez. Papa Gomez. Ashley. Daddy. Here we are. So, that's the island. Yep. That's it. You know what the business here is? I don't envy you. No one's come by this place since I don't know when. Just a little while ago. Just a little while. There's also a small machine, the dual trace system. I traced the letter to here, Blood Edward Island. He should be waiting for me.
Papa
Papa
Gomez.
Gomez should be waiting. Chapter 1, Ghost Memories. Oh, where am I? Oh, Ashley, you're awake. Yes, are you feeling alright, Ashley? wish I could. Jessica is my father's little sister and his only home. She teaches high school chemistry and basically raised me. Jessica the chemist. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Jessica. She's a nice lady, a chemist, big-hearted, smart. She's a sharp cookie. Hey, Jessica's a sharp cookie. She hates it when we call her Jessie. Hey, Jessie. I can't even look at right. She can't do the ice stare. Ice stare. Ice stare. The ice stare. Because all this time she knew Dad was alive and didn't tell me. Ashley, yeah? We're just about there. I can see Blood Edward Island. Your father is waiting for you there. I'm sure he can't wait to see you. It's finally happening. Why did you let me believe for all these years that my father, Papa Gomez, was dead? The answer isn't simple. Why did you lie to me for all these years? It truly messed me up. I had to. I promised your father, Papa Gomez. What kind of promise? I'm making you too whiny. I'm going to fix it. I suppose I can tell you now. It happened 10 or so years ago. You just showed up on my doorstep one day with you. You had just turned 3 years of age. I still remember how you looked that day. So very small. Go on, tell me about how small I was. It had been a while since I'd seen him last, Papa Gomez. He looked tired and serious, even more so than before. He just said, "Don't ask me about this. I'll come for her someday. I promise. I hope it's soon, but it may not be. Until then, take good care of her," Papa Gomez said. I tried. Aunt Jessie tried to use my chemistry skills, my big-heartedness. And under no circumstance can you tell her I'm alive. It would only put her life at risk. I didn't say that. I have no idea. Obviously your dad's a hero and it's an unselfish purpose. I could sense that something very grave was happening. Or what do you... So I took his word for it and put you under my wing. To tell you the truth, I was scared to ask you questions. I didn't want to learn something that might put us in danger. She suspected it might put us in danger. And now it seems that Richard, has kept his promise to come. I'm sorry. Ashley Zuka Gomez. I wanted to tell you about your father, but I made a promise to Papa Gomez. About Papa Gomez. Can you tell me about Papa Gomez now? He's an excellent scientist. I already know that. I'm sure that small machine he sent you is one of his creations. Slow down, you just like peaceful to us. Thanks so much for being here. It was an honor to be here with you. Catch you guys on the flip side.